Well, it's a pleasure for me to be here this morning and give you a 3-hour presentation on President Obama's corporate tax reform policy. I know you're going to be riveted about this, but before I get started, I want to introduce Doug Rand. Doug, stand up. Doug works with me on Startup America, which I'm going to be talking about. And Robbie Barbero just joined my team as well. He's working on the intersection of biology, the physical sciences, and engineering. So, as I hope you know by now, encouraging high-growth entrepreneurship is one of President Obama's top priorities, and there's a couple reasons for that. One is that, obviously, getting more Americans back to work is job one, and as we know from research that the Kaufman Foundation and other organizations have supported, entrepreneurs are responsible for all of the net job creation in the United States. Second is entrepreneurs can play an incredibly important role in addressing the big challenges that we face at home and abroad. So whether it's allowing people to lead longer, healthier lives or accelerating the transition to a low-carbon economy that's going to reduce our dependence on foreign oil, it's entrepreneurs who many times are developing some of the most innovative solutions to these big problems. And so the Obama administration started an initiative called Startup America that has 3 components. The first is what Congress can do. The second is what the administration can do through executive action that doesn't require legislation. And the third is what the private sector can do. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples of progress that we've been making since the launch of the Startup America initiative, but also to solicit your ideas about how we continue to move these efforts forward. So on the legislative side, when President Obama gave his speech on the Jobs Act, he told Congress, if you pass legislation that will make it easier for high-growth entrepreneurs to raise capital and hire more people, I will sign it. And in a relatively rare phenomena of bipartisan collaboration in this town, both Democrats and Republicans came together and passed legislation called the Jobs Act that created a legal framework for crowdfunding that increased the size of so-called mini public offerings from 5 million to 50 million, and that created an IPO on-ramp and dealt with some of the regulations under Sarbanes-Oxley that were making it difficult for high-growth entrepreneurs to go public. So that was a pretty significant legislative accomplishment. Second thing is, what can the administration do that does not require legislation? So we've been doing things like recruiting entrepreneurs to the federal government to solve important problems. We recruited a group of entrepreneurs and residents who are currently working at USCIS and the Department of Homeland Security to figure out how foreign entrepreneurs can use existing visa categories. We recruited entrepreneurs to the FDA, where they're looking at creating a new pathway for faster approval of medical devices. Todd Park, who is our CTO, and I don't know if you've ever heard him speak, but we have a drinking game now where we take a drink every time he uses the word awesome, because he is very excited about his job. And he has just recruited 18 Presidential Innovation Fellows, many of them who are entrepreneurs, who are fanning out across the federal government to engage in what he calls data liberation, which means that the federal government is taking data and making it available in bulk downloadable, machine-readable format, which sounds really nerdy, but it's allowing entrepreneurs to take government data and build all sorts of new applications on it, in the same way that when the federal government started making GPS data available, it became the foundation for a $90 billion market in GPS and location-based services. So there are all sorts of exciting opportunities there. We're working on improving the commercialization of federally funded research. So how many people have read the book by Eric Ries on lean startups? So the National Science Foundation, which invests $7 billion a year in university research, is teaming up with people who are familiar with the lean startup methodology and connecting faculty and graduate students and postdocs who have these breakthroughs that they've come up with the lab, and teaching them how to launch a successful startup. So those are just a couple of things that the administration has been doing on that doesn't require legislation. The third very important component of this is that we thought that an effort to encourage and promote high-growth entrepreneurship would not be successful without the involvement of the private sector. And we were delighted when Steve Case and the Case Foundation and the Kaufman Foundation stepped up to the plate and created an independent organization called the Startup America Partnership, which is designed to strengthen the entrepreneurial ecosystem across the country. They have signed up well over 100 corporate partners that have made financial and in-kind commitments of over $1.5 billion to help high-growth entrepreneurs. You can check it out at s.co, for a very short URL. And they now have startup regions going in 28 states where entrepreneurs all over the country are beginning to work together to improve the entrepreneurial ecosystem. So I really do not view Startup America as a traditional policy initiative. I really view it more as a movement. And previous speaker talked about superpowers. So let me share with you one of the White House superpowers, and that is the ability to convene, the ability for the president to issue a call to action, like when President Kennedy said, we want to put a man on the moon by the end of the decade, or the United States decided, we're going to sequence the entire human genome, and it started off costing $3 billion, and now it's reaching $1,000. So one of the things that the White House has the ability to do is to challenge serial entrepreneurs, big companies, governors and mayors, universities. We're meeting with 150 university presidents next week and asking them what they can do to improve entrepreneurial education and improve the commercialization of federally funded research. Philanthropists, nonprofit organizations like many of the intermediaries here, providers of professional services, and philanthropists that are interested in supporting your work. And we can challenge them to work together to improve the ecosystem in the United States for not only starting a new company, but scaling it, because that's really where the job growth begins to kick in. Excuse me. And what we need your help on is where do you think are the key levers? So if you had the ability to call anyone on the planet and ask them to take some specific action that you think would strengthen America's entrepreneurial ecosystem, who would you call and what would you ask them to do? And if you have killer ideas, which you can send to me and Doug, I'm Kalil at ostp.eop.gov, and Doug is drand, same address. We look forward to getting email from all 200 of you. We want your ideas about how we take Startup America to the next level and how we continue to expand the number of individuals and organizations who are really working to make America the greatest place to launch and scale a new business. Thank you very much.